Are you thinking about moving to Fredericksburg, Virginia? You're not really sure about what neighborhood or maybe what county suits your lifestyle the best? Hey, my name is Quann. I'm a local expert here in the real estate market, and I've helped countless families pick their ideal area that they want to live in. Today, we're going to be breaking down our area and kind of look at some neighborhoods in some counties to kind of go over, and I have Google Maps to help me here. So I want to paint the picture. My wife has lived here pretty much her adult life. We're getting close to 20 years at this point. Her mom lives in a county just north called Stafford County. Fredericksburg is an independent city, which is really small in the heart of like these 5 counties we're about to talk about. But a majority of our area has a Fredericksburg mailing address. So we had this argument. I don't know how we really got into it, but I was trying to explain to her that her mom lives in Stafford County, even though she has a Fredericksburg mailing address. And she was trying to argue about this, but really anything north of the Rappahannock River is Stafford County. I thought that might bring up some other issues, especially with people that are moving to the area that are going to be kind of confused on the mailing addresses we have. So we're going to look at the map and we're going to actually see what Stafford County is, what Fredericksburg City, what Spotsylvania is, and a few of the other counties. Now I'm going to use the little Google guy and drop him to show you kind of some landmarks that you can look at while you're here. And we're going to touch on a few neighborhoods, a couple price points, things like that. All right, so let's get into it. So as you can see, it's really just a small little area right here compared to all of, say, Virginia. It's a very small little area. So when we look at Fredericksburg City, when we think about like the mailing address, we're thinking about like 300,000 people, but that's not really what it is. Fredericksburg City is actually only about 30,000 people. And it's that historic downtown vibe. I wouldn't really call it the hustle and bustle, but if you like that like walkable downtown with a lot of folks wandering around, a lot of local cool businesses, good restaurants, parks, there's a river, this is the place you want to be. Now, whether you live there or you travel there from one of the counties around, it just depends what you want to do. Looking at Fredericksburg, really, this is the heart of downtown right here. It's got a few streets. It's nothing crazy, but it is like that historic downtown. So let's drop our little guy. Yeah, like first picture, like that historic guy. So if we're going down, that's our butcher right there. That's Castigula, which is a great Italian restaurant. It's got the overhead bar where you can hang out. I don't drink anymore, but I probably would if I hung out there. La Petite, which is probably one of our older restaurants and very good reviews, as you can see, more expensive. We have Fahrenheit right here, which is our premier steakhouse for the area, but just that historic downtown vibe. As you can see, we have some big churches, Hyperion, our coffee shop. Some of these buildings have cannonballs in them from the Civil War. I mean, like just historic downtown vibe. But if you keep going down William Street, you're gonna come to this bridge. Now this is the Rappahannock River. And this is like one of the most iconic pictures for Fredericksburg. It's this train bridge right here. You can see it, it's a beautiful river. Originally when people started coming up Fredericksburg, this was like the fall line. So this is as far as big boats could get. And that's why we have now a town or a port here. But this leads all the way to the Chesapeake and into the Atlantic Ocean. So it is a very navigable tidal river, but it's all freshwater when you get this high. But what I wanted to point out here is just north of the Rappahannock River is Stafford County, which is a much bigger county. So now this is Stafford County. So we were in this little town, Fredericksburg right here, Stafford County. As you can see, it's a much bigger area. So when we talked about Fredericksburg having about 30,000 people, Stafford's got 157,000. It borders the Potomac River. And then really this is what we would consider the cutoff for, say, Northern Virginia. Now I'm starting to consider Stafford and some of Fredericksburg actually Northern Virginia at this point, because it just creeps down. But really anything north of Stafford is Northern Virginia. And you're really getting that hub of like DC and just all the hustle and bustle that goes on in Northern Virginia. And just the amount of money that's in Northern Virginia is outrageous. So Lake Loudoun County is one of the highest producing counties in the United States. Now, when I look at Stafford, there's really 2 areas. If we're looking at like neighborhoods, but we have South Stafford, which is kind of this area right here, borders Fredericksburg. It's older homes. So if we want to drop a guy and like, I don't know, let's say this area, yeah, you can see it's like that 1950s to say 70s and 80s houses. Now, I'm not saying there's not new construction going on here still today, but for the most part, it's an older area. Again, it just was a suburb of Fredericksburg. Yeah, a bunch of cool houses, smaller ramblers, just better built for the time. And so a couple things to point out here is we have Route 1, which historically goes up and down the East Coast from Key West to Maine. And then we have 95, which I feel like most people would know. I don't know, but it's a major artery through the whole East Coast, and definitely a lot of traffic. Goes right through the heart of Fredericksburg and Stafford. The next portion really would be North Stafford, which really starts at like this Center Point Parkway, which really starts at like Stafford Courthouse and up. A lot of shopping in this area of Garrisonville. Quiet Harbor is a gigantic neighborhood, thousands of houses, and the houses are going to look something like this. It's not a brand new neighborhood by any means, although there are still some new constructions and stuff going on in there. But it's more of your traditional two-style colonial houses that were probably built in, like, let's say the 80s to early 2000s. It's a gigantic neighborhood though, and I don't want to get too caught up on the neighborhoods because they all have some sort of amenities and stuff like that, but definitely a place that you might want to check out. So one thing I've noticed on like other area breakdown videos is like if we get into DC or any of the major cities, like all those are different neighborhoods where when you get out more like rural areas, say Spotsylvania, Stafford, literally you could be driving 30 minutes down a road and there'll be one road that goes off to the right with say 10 houses on it, and that would be considered a neighborhood. So it's hard to break down the neighborhood because we literally have hundreds of them. And then you also just have like rural farmland where you might find a house that's on 400 acres or 100 acres. So it's kind of it's a big mix of everything. Those neighborhoods I pointed out, say like Quiet Harbor, is like your traditional neighborhood with amenities, HOA, that kind of thing. But then you also have areas like this, and you have smaller neighborhoods that have bigger houses in it. On average, Stafford County has a median sales price of about $510. So it is on the higher end for our area, Fredericksburg being like $440, and Spotsy, which we're about to get into, is more like $450. All right, so we just looked at Stafford, we've looked at Fredericksburg. Now we're gonna go down to Spotsylvania, which is my hometown and where I currently live. Spotsylvania is a big county as well. All these counties are pretty good size. We have that Route 195 corridor, which we've talked about in Stafford. We have that as well. Our express lanes, so for commuters, pretty much end right here. So again, we've talked about in plenty of other videos, but a lot of people are commuting up north from these areas. Other big roads to pay attention to is Route 3, which heads out towards Culpeper and to the west side of our state. We have 17, which heads out to the east, and Route 3, the other way, heads out east as well. 208 right here is where I'm located. That's that little blue dot. That heads out to Lake Anna, which is a huge compound that we've talked about, and I'll show you a picture of that here in a second. It's a huge lake that actually runs a power plant for Dominion that provides a lot of power for the area. But this is the shot of the 208 bridge heading over Lake Anna. I've literally caught fish here and here on this hump before. It's a great lake, it's big. And during the summer, a lot of people from Virginia travel to come out to Lake Anna and have a good time. A lot of cool restaurants. I feel like it's probably a video in its own that I should shoot at some point, but a lot of cool things can happen down Lake Anna. So as you can see, a lot of the buildup right here is kind of, again, bordering Fredericksburg. As you get further down these roads, you get pretty rural areas. If I were to drop, say, my pen, like let's say here, double wide, just a rural, there's a school right there. So a rural road heading out to Lake Anna. There's going to be houses built along it. So you're in this rural area, but again, you have neighborhoods right here. And go down here, and then there's 15, 20 houses down there. So it just depends on where you're at in Spotsylvania, because we do have some really big neighborhoods. Now, the big ones that come to mind would be like Fawn Lake or Lake Wilderness. And they're kind of both next to each other. That's why I'll probably drop my pin here. Fawn Lake is this big gated community, as you can see right here. It's probably our most well-known and big neighborhood. Thousands of houses. They have lakes. They have the country club, the Fawn Lake Country Club, which is probably our premier golf course. Clubhouses to eat at. You can drive your golf cart around. There's baseball fields. There's tennis courts. There's a little bit of everything. It's a city within itself. If you go right down the street, and let's say the average price points in Fawn Lakes, somewhere probably north of 700, I would think. You go to Lake Wilderness, which also has a clubhouse. It also has lake, or a couple different little lakes. Doesn't have a golf course or anything like that, but a much better price point. Probably somewhere around the 400 price point versus say like 700,000, 800,000. And so there's some nice new construction going on even today in this neighborhood, where you see that new evolution of new septic systems and everything coming out. So all that being said, Virginia is very diverse. I mean, literally we have cities and we have farmland and everything in between. Small neighborhoods, big neighborhoods, neighborhoods with high HOAs that have a lot of amenities, neighborhoods with absolutely no HOA and no amenities. Fredericksburg truly does like offer something for everybody. So I hope this helps. I hope this gets you one step closer to finding like your dream area that you want to live in. Whether it's here, other places, I'm always here for you guys. If you need me, you can always reach out to me. If you like this kind of content, check out my last video where I talked about, is there really ever a perfect time to buy a house? It's packed with a bunch of good content to help you simplify your process of buying a house. I want to say thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.